golf lover, join in on fun discussions about golf from the perspective of two plugged-in Minnesota golf geeks, Brad Cole and David Branstad. This is 10,000 Swings.
Hello and welcome back to 10,000 Swings. It is Monday, August 23rd, 2021, and I'm Brad Cole.
I'm David Branstad.
10,000 Swings is brought to you by Jarrett Yalen with Northwestern Mutual. For whatever financial questions you have, call Jarrett with Northwestern Mutual today at 612-209-4523 or check out his website at jarrettyalen.com. I heard rumors that he was actually ringing the bell at the stock exchange this week with Keith Mitchell and other players. So, we never are surprised at what Jarrett's up to, but this guy knows his stuff. Give him a call today. We've got a great show this week that might include the Northern Trust at Liberty National. I believe it finished by now. The FedEx Playoffs. The AIG Women's Open, an incredible finish on Sunday. And then even a little preview of the Minnesota Section Championship right around the corner. And much more. But first, our guest is a Minnesota legend. And it's kind of like one of those people who only needs to be introduced with one name. It's kind of like Cher or Prince or Muhammad or McLovin. It's the one and only Mune. Jeff Munneke, how are you, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be on with you guys. As always, talk a little golf as well as pop culture and whatever, and food and whatever else we come up with topics for. But anxious to talk to you guys a little bit further again tonight.
Mune, I love you, man. I love you as much as the next guy. But Brad, did you just put him on the same pedestal as Prince with that intro?
I put him on the same pedestal as McLovin. For those of you that appreciate the movie Superbad, Mune has introduced me to a podcast called The Rewatchables with Bill Simmons and the crew from The Ringer. And they recently just did a Rewatchables of Superbad. And for those of you that are old enough to listen to a Rewatchables of Superbad, I strongly encourage it because it is some really funny stuff. And the McLovin Muhammad talk is one of the funniest scenes of the whole movie. So I figure Mune's at least as well known as McLovin. I'm going a strong C-list Minneapolis celebrity, if not even B-list at this point in Minneapolis. Maybe like a D-list when you get out of the state of Minnesota, but I think in Minneapolis you're pushing B for sure, a solid C, but probably a B-list at this point.
I think it's B-list caliber here.
Well, what I think is funny are the people. There's some people that think they know me really well, but will call me Mun rather than Mune. So that shows what a kind of celebrity with one name I am.
The amount of people that tell me how well they know Mun makes me smile. It really brightens my day, and I hear it all the time. So, that Mun guy, he's just a good guy, and I like Mun, I like Mune, but we're gonna go with Mune. So, you're a big deal when your Twitter handle is Minnesota Mune. That's all I can say. So. Pretty big deal.
As you know, Brad, I had to put the two umlauts over the U because there were so many people still going. Even though I've been around forever, I'm old and ancient, there's still many people going with the Jeff Munneke or Minnesota Mun or Mun. So I had to put the two Motley Crue umlauts over that U to get the Mune spot going in there.
It's a big deal, and I will say that when we call you, my 2-year-old is always like, "What are those little dots above Uncle Jeff's name, Daddy?" So it's pretty good. I tell you what, we had a crazy wild week of golf. The Northern Trust. So last year, the Northern Trust moved back to Boston, I believe, is where they played it last year. And DJ ran away with it. It was not really contended by anyone. And this year, all of a sudden on Saturday, you see someone start to run away with the event. And crazy this time, it wasn't COVID protocols that slowed it down. It was actually Tropical Storm Henry slowed things down for Mr. John Rahm. I tell you what, at one point on Saturday, you were thinking, "Oh, here we go again." And, the Vegas sports books didn't have to pay out the bets this time. But, he had it in control on Saturday. He was rolling, and all of a sudden he goes and makes a double on 13, the par 5, and another bogey on 16 coming in. And, then on then what ends up being Monday finish, he just kind of faltered. I think he made a couple bogeys in the last 6 holes coming in, and kind of a disappointing finish for him. But what a spectacular event. So, we had to stop Sunday. These guys all sit in their rooms all day Sunday. Probably were encouraged to not go anywhere. And I guess, Brandy, my number one question for you is, if you have one day, you're in contention in PGA Tour event, and you have Sunday, and you're told to not go anywhere, there's a tropical storm coming through, what are you going to do in New York City locked in a hotel room? Are you going to try to go like Macaulay Culkin on it, like Home Alone 2, and just start ordering a bunch of stuff? Or what route would you go?
Well, let's put it this way. I guess it's better than John Rahm's alternative being told, yes, you are positive. You're out for the rest of the event. So I'm going to take my day in the hotel. That's a good question. I am probably, because there's nothing to really watch. Football hasn't really started. There's no college football. There's no NFL. There's no golf. I'm going to watch some women's golf. And other than that, I'm just going to pay-per-view the hell out of my TV for the day. And I guess my other plan probably wouldn't work, though. I was going to say I'm just going to get takeout all day, but I'm assuming with a hurricane, there's probably not a heck of a lot of takeout, so I'm going to hope room service is pretty good. And then I'm going to feel like crap by about Sunday night and try to figure out how I'm going to play in a golf tournament on Monday morning.
Do you step it up a notch, Brandy? Do you like pre-order a bunch of like takeout from different restaurants and then just lock it up in your fridge all day Sunday, and then like a couple hours before you want to eat it, just sit it out? So there's not a lot of hotel rooms that have both fridge and microwave. Or do you? If you have fridge and microwave, I mean that's what you have to do, right? Like you spend $100 on Saturday and all this different stuff, and then on Sunday you just kind of casually start popping things in the microwave.
Yeah, so good point, because based on where they're located, if you have fridge and microwave, which I'm going to assume most of these guys did, I'm going to load up on a variety of different pizza companies and a variety of different hoagie companies. And I'm going to spend all day Sunday just sampling what the finest has to offer out there. Because I've never been to the area, but I've heard that's what I have to go eat.
No, that makes sense. So, Mune, what are you doing? You're locked into a hotel room for a day. Are you just going to play like 5,000 games of solitaire with yourself? Or are you going to go through all of your Apple Music playlists? Are you going to try to figure out what letter you like best? Is it still M? Or like, what is the route you're going to go?
Well, as you know, Brad, I'm not much of a card player. So probably what I'm doing is I'm waking up. There's got to be a place to go get a cup of mud in New York City. So I'm going down and get a coffee somewhere. There's going to be somebody that's going to come down, open up a coffee shop. So I'm looking for the greatest mud spot I can find in New York City. Then I'm probably going back to watch the AIG, the Women's British. Got to tune in that for a little bit. Then if there is a little break in the weather, I got to figure I'm going to go over to Rucker Park and see if anybody is hooping. There's got to be maybe a little respite over it. Maybe people are squeegeeing off the court. I'm going over to Rucker Park and just see what type of hoopers are over there. Or maybe they're playing in the rain. I don't know. So Rucker Park's going to get a visit. Then there's got to be, even though the weather's horrible, there's got to be some pizza dives going too, right? You got to go find some New York pizza. Then if that doesn't work, I'm probably going back to watch 100-Foot Wave, HBO documentary, Formula One on Netflix, maybe Hard Knocks. I got something to watch.
Mune, it's amazing to me that you didn't mention when you went over to Rucker Park that you'd probably wear your jelly Isaiah Washington jelly Gopher retro jersey to represent in Rucker Park, because I'm assuming he's out there even during the tropical storm. He's out there crossing up people and making it rain, right?
Jelly fam going. I'm doing that finger roll right there. Could be some jelly fam going.
Oh, jelly fam. So I mean, it's a weird Sunday, right? Like it's just a really weird deal. And I really think it has to be so hard. You're trained your whole life to tomorrow, right? And now all of a sudden you just hit pause. And it had to be really hard for these guys. But, a couple of people that I wanted to acknowledge before we get too deep into it. Eric Van Rooyen, another huge week, took 7th this week, which is just huge for him. And he just got the win at the Barracuda. Tom Hoagie just took 4th place this week. So these guys will advance another week. They're going to keep moving along with the FedEx playoffs, but I'm not going to hide it too much. Tony Finau is one of my, if not my favorite player on tour, and Tony has not won since he won the Puerto Rico Open, which is often called the curse on tour, right? If you win that event, it's kind of like you don't ever win anything else. And he pulled it off today. Now, one might say that he kind of lucked into it with Cam Smith having a struggle in the playoff, but I was really, really impressed with how well Tony played just to get into the playoff. And for the Tony Finau doubters out there, I will say this. He shot 65 today with a 30 coming in. And that's no bogeys on the back nine. And that is really rock solid. And he just went out and made a par in the playoff hole, and Cam made a mistake. And just like that, Tony Finau gets a huge win, moves to number 1 in the FedEx Cup playoff points. I mean, what do you guys think? Tony Finau today, Tony Finau going forward, what are your... Has he gotten past a hump here? Did he just luck out against Cam? What do you think?
Here's what I'll say about this. Number one, you can't ever discount a win on the PGA Tour, especially a win in FedEx Cup playoffs. A win's a win. These guys grind their tails off all year for this kind of stuff. What was it? He went 143 events in between victories, I think it was. That's playing almost 30 events a year to get to this point. And if you would have asked me early in the year, and I've said this prior, if there's two guys on tour that I think are more talented than the wins they have, it's Cameron Champ and Tony Finau. Both of them now coming up with wins in the last, well, let's call it a month. I might be off by a week or so there, but I think this is huge for him. I don't know if he's gotten over this. Obviously, he got some help. But hey, this is a PGA Tour win. It's huge. Good for him. He's got the game to play with anybody. I mean, my God, he finished top 5 in the Masters with what looked like was a broken ankle after Wednesday.
It's like you put a Lego back together with that foot.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. But, yeah, like you said, Brandy, with Finau, so much talent, but also he's one of those guys everybody roots for too, right? He's always on the Golf Digest, top 30 good guys. He's just super popular on tour, I think, with not only the tour pros, but the fans. He's great with them. Good family guy. I think they're talking about all the time he's flying between going down and playing in Arizona and his home in Utah. So it's a great win for him. But can we just stop a second and just acknowledge Cam Smith's mustache and that lettuce? I think we should just say Cam Smith should have a new name. It should just be Cam Smith Lettuce, because that lettuce is unbelievable. I knew a guy from Lake City in 1982 that graduated with a similar mustache and that similar flow. So he thought it was a pretty good looking look back then. And so it almost felt like he's one of those guys trying out for White Lion or White Snake or Winger back in the old hair metal days. But you got to love that stash and that flow.
You don't by any chance have a screenshot of this, do you, Mune?
I'll send you
all I know is the side by side of Jeff Munneke circa 1980, Cam Smith circa now, and Joe Dirt. You really would think it's a family reunion photo, so that's all I'm gonna say. So Cam Smith, let's just talk about, he actually got asked again for the millionth time this year about his hair, and he said, and I quote, "I am not going to cut it. I'm playing the best golf of my life. It's become who I am." His girlfriend doesn't like it. His mom doesn't like it. His buddies think it's a riot. I think this is fantastic. And the question now is, now that he lost a playoff on a PGA Tour event, a very big event, does he go out and just shave it and show up next week at BMW looking like he's 22 years old again? Because that is one issue he had. He looked so young before that he got a little bit of crap. I just think he's really come into his own in the mullet. And the question is Brandy, did you ever have a certain look going that you couldn't give up? Or Mune, have you ever had I just Kurt Schilling bloody sock? Have you ever had a time you're just I can't give this up. This is too good.
Yes, I did. High school, I had straight Zach Morris hair, and I still to this day kind of wish I didn't give it up, but I did. I gave it up, and I let the captains of the football team shave my head my senior year. But no, I totally rocked the Zach Morris look, and that was a really hard. In fact, I rocked the Zach Morris look, shaved it off, and grew it back because I missed it so much. If I'm going back to Cam Smith, though, what place did he finish this week?
Second.
Okay, yeah, I'm not cutting my hair.
It's hard, right?
Enough
In
said.
Cam Smith's stats this year, he's played 22 events on the PGA Tour. He's got 8 top 10s. He's had 1 win. I mean, he's right there. He's 3rd in FedEx Cup points. He's playing the best golf of his life. And this is honestly one of those guys that he literally looks like he's 15 when he doesn't have the mullet going and the creep stash. Like, like he needs this thing going, I think, to establish who he is. What are your thoughts, Mune?
Yeah, you got to own it. I say continue. I mean, some of the rounds of golf he's played this year are just absolutely fantastic, and he appears to just say, all right, it's part of my look, it's part of my feel. Probably back like after I got rid of the mullet back in 1982, the guy I was referencing before, and the bad mustache, I decided to go with a perm, and I owned that perm, and it was one of the worst looks of all time. It looked like Ronald McDonald, but I owned it, so I went with it. So just own it, Cam. Let's go. But let's change the name to Cam Smith Lettuce.
I like it. So, Mune, another guy that really owns his hair and just really just says, you know what, I'm all in on this. Pat Perez. And Pat Perez played really well this week. I think he finished 16th. And, he's hanging right there. He's going to maybe make a playoff push. And you look at some of these different guys. Harry Higgs, another guy that just owns his look, right?
Yeah. Brad, what'd your doppelganger do this week?
I haven't been able to Google it yet. Brandy, tell the folks that are listening what Harry Higgs did.
So first, he finished top 20, top 25, right?
T16, yep.
T16. So he had a good event overall. He was plus 5.92 strokes gained around the green on Thursday.
Yikes!
It's from all that can be tweeted out or we can follow on Twitter. It's a new record. We're talking literally. He's going to miss a par 5 by 30 yards, chip it in. He's going to be off the green and holds it from 79 feet. At one point, he actually, this is the most Harry Higgs, Brad Cole thing in the world. He actually hit his playing competitor's ball marker. The ball hops up in the air 30 feet out and still makes it.
I mean, at that point, don't you think that guy should maybe be looked at for a possible Ryder Cup team selection? Like, isn't that the guy? Like, right there, like, you literally say yikes when you hear that. Plus 5, whatever. Like, those numbers are insane, and that's the guy you want. He's getting it done from all over the place. And the only guy with probably a better short game is, I believe, now out with pneumonia. Did you see this, guys? Patrick Reed?
Yeah, bilateral pneumonia, and he's going to be out for the BMW too.
I love that you're going to go bilateral leg weakness because that really puts a lot of Minnesota sports fans in a bad place when they hear those words. But the bilateral pneumonia from Patrick Reed, man, I'm very interested to see what happens now with the Ryder Cup push, right? Because he was obviously going to be right in the mix, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And who knows? You could play it the other way and say, you know what, he's probably going to be a lot by the end of September. But these guys get a few weeks off before, from the Tour Championship to the Ryder Cup. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't see how you don't pick him. How do you not pick him?
Well, he's.
Yeah, with Higgs, the other thing, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm following all the PIP stuff. And so all these guys that are doing work with Joel Damon, Jim Herman, Higgs did the Twitter Ask Harry Higgs deal the other day from the airport. And all these questions are coming in. And what would you guys want to ask Harry Higgs? I think the obvious thing is like, tell us about the unbuttoned polo. But I think I'm going with, what's his favorite golf cliche? What's he got? What's his favorite golf cliche?
Man, it's in the hole.
Good place to come in from.
Good place.
That'll do.
That would fit him.
Oh man, I could see him having some fun with that. He seems like he's having a good time out there. And
how many holes does your golf shirt actually stay tucked in for?
Well,
is it untucked in 3?
He tweeted at Fowler the other day. Fowler, it was the hot tournament. I can't remember which one it was now, but Fowler opened up his polo a little bit, opened up a couple buttons, and Higgs had a heyday with Fowler. So that was fun. And, just the whole PIP thing is brilliant. The Jim Herman stuff is great. But the other one that I think is really, really awesome is Joel Damon. He's out there, and he's on this betting rampage now, taking all bets. And I was thinking about this today. Like if Joel Damon gave each of us a stroke from 150 in, what would you be willing to bet on who gets in the hole first? Would you bet 50, 100? He gives us all a stroke. What would you do?
That's the hardest question I've been asked in about a year.
That's a really good one, Mew.
That's yeah. I'm gonna go more because I think life is just better with money in the line. I'll go at least 500 on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 to 500. I like a little more action.
Okay. Well, you guys are players.
150.
I think I'm holding at 100, but I'm willing to go 100. That's about what I bet at the roulette table, betting on 34 red.
Here's my issue with that. I feel very confident that I might even be able to hit it inside of him at that 150, but I could 3-putt from 6 feet.
That's a good point. And it's interesting. We do need to bring up Joel Damon. So he's another great Twitter follow. And if you look at some of the things that we talk about, things they tweeted lately, his recent posts, a little love for Anna Nordqvist this week in the AIG Women's Open, and then
Very cool.
Him and Max Homa go back and forth quite a bit, and it looks like Max Homa hold one out from 113 this week.
Yeah, did you see that response?
And Joel Damon hold out from 114, and he tweeted at Max Homa and said, "Mine is longer than yours," which is pretty darn funny stuff. He just seems like he's having a good time. He's good for the tour. Seems like a lot of positivity out there, and he's just kind of having fun with it. So, there was a lot of talking this week with Joel Damon and Harry Higgs and Keith Mitchell and Phil Mickelson playing these matches out there. And if you haven't followed it yet on Twitter, there's some pretty good chirping there. But this is a good time. Joel is a PXG ambassador. It's a good time to acknowledge our great friends at PXG Southdale. So the new store for PXG at Southdale, great sponsor of ours. They still have some Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4 product available today. Putters, drivers, wedges, hybrids, you name it. Great supporter of the show. They just opened their new store in Dallas. So a lot of things going on with PXG. So if you haven't swung by yet, we've actually had a few listeners of the show in the last week here just go down and get fit, and very happy with what they were fit for. So if you get a chance, go down and check out the store. Again, we don't have any other stores like this in Minneapolis. So check it out today, and pretty cool things going on at PXG. So as we go forward, with this week, any other thoughts you had, Mune, on Liberty National or Northern Trust? It sounded like on the telecast this week they talked about Northern Trust no longer being a sponsor after this year. Any thoughts? To me, this event at Liberty National has got to be one of the coolest events on tour. Just the backdrop of the amount of times you saw the skyline of New York City, I thought was just very, very cool. But any closing thoughts or anything you really liked or learned from this week?
Yeah, like you said, I was just going to say the same thing. That's one of those courses now that you've seen those camera shots and the angles with Lady Liberty in the background almost every hole. That's one of those courses you got to get to, right? It becomes a bucket list item to get out there and play. And I just thought it was so fun with great leaderboard, a lot of drama coming in. Like we mentioned earlier, Finau, who's a popular character on the tour, gets the victory for the first time in quite some time. And so I just thought it was great. And I can't wait for the BMW. This FedEx deal, I love it. I don't know what most people feel about it, but I think it's great. I think when it first came out, everybody's like, well, there's this NASCAR deal to it. How's this going to work? But I think these point totals are fascinating. Just the adjustments and changes to even something like today where guys are moving all over the board. I think it's great stuff.
How about Spieth in this event? Did you guys follow what happened
What
to him?
happened?
He had back-to-back eagles and back-to-back triples in the same event. First time in, I think, 20 years this has ever happened, that someone had back-to-back eagles and back-to-back doubles or worse. This was a typical Spieth tournament. It was not pretty at all.
72, 62, 72, and you're like, oh man, here comes the final round, 63, right?
Right.
And he shoots 79. And what are you doing, Jordan? And again, that's 79? Guess how many birdies he had, Branny?
I don't even know.
4 birdies, and he shot 8 over. Blows my mind. And another thing that was really interesting this week, Adam Scott needed a good week, missed the cut. Dustin Johnson missed the cut. Some guys
Morikawa missed the cut. Well, Watson missed the cut. Sergio missed the cut. Wolfie missed the cut.
Yeah, Man, I tell you what, it was a very, very entertaining week, and the FedEx Cup has updated to show that, right? Like, to just see who made the cut and who didn't to go to the next week to the top 70. So Phil Mickelson misses the cut, but he still gets through to next week. So he's 70th. He moved from 58th to 70th. Harry Higgs goes from 80th to 69th. So nice to see Harry making it through for another week. Some other big moves. We had some guys that are kind of surprising, like Paul Casey's 54th. I feel like he's had a pretty good year, and yet he's 54th in FedEx Cup points. Tom Hoagie goes from 108th to 48th. Eric Van Rooyen goes from 76th to 45th. So again, Van Rooyen, if he plays well next week, he's going to make it to the Tour Championship. Same with Hoagie. Those guys control their own destiny if they get like a little top 5 or something next week. Well, so kind of cool to see them.
Mune, going to what you just said, and Brad, you and I have talked about this, like, I didn't know how much I was going to get involved or love the FedEx Cup because it had that NASCAR feel to it. Nothing against NASCAR, but I'm like, I don't know. Do I really like this? Do I not? And all of a sudden, all I talk about and all we discuss, even off the air, is where are people in the FedEx Cup? This is a really fun time of year. Not to mention we close out FedEx Cup and right into football, which is a whole different story. But this is fun. I love the shift changes. I love the fact that people are swapping all over the place, up and down these leaderboards. It's exciting for golf, and it's different.
I think it's great. I think it really keeps you involved here going into the fall season, and just the adjustments just from today were pretty dramatic again. And one more thing about the tournament: did you guys see Matsuyama hit the ball that bounced a couple times into the guy's shirt?
No.
You missed that? Oh my goodness! So a guy, just a guest or a patron, was walking along, and Matsuyama hits it a little bit right, bounced 2 or 3 times. Guy's got a bag, and he's walking along, and so I think everybody thought it went in the bag, and he just stops and freezes, and he had a kind of a tight polo on. The ball somehow bounced up through into his shirt, and so he had to stand there and freeze, and the whole gallery comes down, everybody's standing around him, and Matsuyama comes in, and the guy kind of jiggles his shirt. They mark the ball or mark the spot where he's standing. The guy kind of jiggles his shirt, and Matsuyama had to play from there. It was priceless. Go on YouTube. It's great.
Oh man, you never know what's going to happen out there, right? I mean, and next week we go to the BMW, which is this year a new course, Caves Valley, which I don't know if you guys have taken a look yet, but Caves Valley in Maryland looks unbelievable. So this should be a really, really good event leading up to the Tour Championship, and then we're essentially done. I mean, it's crazy how fast the year has gone. We're not officially done yet because Bryson DeChambeau has said he's going to play in the World Long Drive Championship come October. So we've got something else to look forward to here. Yeah, so we're done. Actually, I would stay up late and watch the amazing golf ball whacker guy compete against the actual golf ball whacker guys just to see how he stacks up, right?
I'm just gonna sit there and watch Holy Moly on repeat and see how Steph Curry's mini putt golf course does instead.
Oh man. So Mune, did you get a chance at all to see what happened this week at the AIG Women's British Open? I watched the video, I don't know, maybe 20 times, watched it live, watched it on replay. So Anna Nordqvist, has not done a whole lot recently and played really well all week long. She's in the final group. She's at -12. She's tied for the lead because the gal playing with her, I'm going to say the name wrong, but Nana Kortz Madsen, goes and makes a bogey on, I think, like 15, right? So they're tied going into 18. And all of a sudden, Madsen is in this greenside bunker on 18, and she does the unthinkable, and she S-words it, just shanks it dead right, and ends up making double. Brandy, have you ever shanked it under the gun?
Under the gun, no, I have not. However, I do remember a round of golf in high school. I'm embarrassed to even say the score, so I'm not going to. Every single shot I hit for 9 holes was a hosel rocket.
What'd you shoot?
61
On 9?
for 9.
How far left were you aiming the last few holes? Were you just like aiming
It
OB
did-
left?
It didn't matter. I was just trying to wipe tears away from my eyes so I could see the golf ball.
Mune, have you ever had the shanks come up when you're under the gun or in a big situation?
I'm going to tell you one story just because it's kind of fresh. I played in the Tiana Shortstop this past weekend, which is a really fun event that they run up in Walker, Minnesota. So 2 years ago, I was playing in the Shortstop. Obviously, last year we weren't able to play due to COVID. But 2 years ago, I'm down 3 in my match with 3 to go. And so I somehow come back and get 3 in a row. So now, because it's the second 9, you're playing extended, and so now you're playing the next groups too. So at Tiana, number 1 tee box is right by the clubhouse. So you got this big, huge deck, and you got all these people. That's where the scoring's done. That's where all the carts are at. So there's usually a pretty good gathering of people. So I somehow come back and tie it up on the 9th hole for my second round. So now we're going back to number 1 to extend play. And now because, you have double groups because we're all going into this tiebreaker. So now the person I'm playing is a pretty popular figure up there, owns a big restaurant in town, and it was getting a little bit later in the day. So now there's a gallery. I wasn't nervous at all that day until this started happening. So I somehow took a deep breath, got it down the fairway in hole number 1, somehow got it on the green in 2 to the one of the only flat greens at Tiana Country Club. And so I'm there. I can close them off. I have a 2-footer on a flat spot on green number 1. I was so nervous at this point because there's about 50 people watching. My mouth felt like I licked a pool table. My hands were trembling, and I did not touch the hole. I hit it so far left, it went 3 feet past. So I somehow make the comeback, or he does, and so we tie it up. I could have closed him up. Go to hole number 2. He hits a shot right on the par 3 there. I hit it on the green somehow. He chips in. I hit my putt. So we go to 3. So now there's about 50, 60 people watching, and I am a wreck. And so the second flattest green on the course, I have a chance to close them out on that hole. I hit it 6 feet past, didn't touch the hole again. So that's my closest thing to the shanks.
I'm going to follow up my 61 here quick. Next round, we are playing in then top 10 ranked Orono in a dual match at Shadowbrook and Lester Prairie. First hole's fairly easy par 5, and all the ones teed off first. So we've got about 50 people, parents and kids, hanging around that first tee box. I'm just coming off of this round literally the day before. I ground ball my tee shot. It doesn't go more than 15 yards. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if this happens 2 rounds in a row, I'm literally going to quit this game. I am done. I hit 2-iron to 5 feet and made 4. And that was all it took to get that round out of my head. I'm a thorough believer, especially now that I teach this game for a living. As easy as that S word can be to get into, it's not that hard to get out of if you do it correctly.
And David, as an instructor, wouldn't you say your first thought would probably be, 1, keep your head down, 2, stand a little further away from the ball? Like for those that are just really struggling with something right now, would those be kind of your 2 starting points, or would you recommend, quitting for a week, or what would you recommend?
If you're on the practice tee, take the most expensive golf club in your bag, throw it on the ground, and put the front of your feet up on it. And make sure that when you make that next golf swing, you don't break that golf club. In other words, get the weight off of your toes. Even if you have to keep it back on your heels for a second, which is not preferable either, but just get it off of the front of your feet. Because when it gets forward, guess what part of that golf club you expose?
Yeah, and for those that don't want to risk their expensive golf clubs, you could just try to put your weight back on your heels and get the same thing accomplished as well, right?
I would say it'd be easier. It'd be easier just go to Southdale and buy a PXG driver and throw it on the ground, and I'm going to make sure that you never do this again.
That's awesome. My thought is always to tell people to get as far away from the ball as possible. Hit a few on the toe, right? Like get it off the hosel. Hit a few on the toe. How about you keep your head down? I'll watch it for you. And usually we're able to work through it. But it happens, and it gets in your head just like with the yips or anything else. Like they're part of golf, right? And I usually like to tell people just maybe take a little break from golf for a while because it's not good for your mental health. You go insane thinking about these things, and I can't imagine. She was playing so well all week, and to be that close to a British Open, oh man, it seems like Carnoustie brings out the worst in people. Can we talk about it? Like the amount of things that have gone wrong on hole 18 at Carnoustie? I mean, it's really really. It's been a place where just a lot of people have seen a lot of rough days, right? And I don't know. I thought she was destined to go to a playoff, and then that happened, and man, that was hard to watch.
Hey, speaking of the mental health of golf, though, Norquist, she won, had a great week, but she even talked about, she didn't really call it mental health, but like the struggle she's had with the balances between life and what's been on tour, and it's one more person that's kind of come out and said, I know this isn't the Shanks, this isn't whatnot, but it's one more person that's come out and said, hey, this is a grind, and this is tough, and this is taxing on your mental game.
Yeah, people are just more willing to talk about that now than they ever were used to be, and I think that's really good and really refreshing, and there's a lot of people that are there to help, not only just on the tour, but just kind of life in general, right? It's easier to talk about. And one of the things I love about this is that the women got to play Carnoustie. And I just think that's so great when the women have the same opportunity to play some of these legendary courses as the guys do. And tell me this, guys, I've always been curious, why wouldn't it work to play back-to-back tournaments for both the men and the women, or the women and the men at some of these great courses, Pinehurst or Torrey Pines, or is it just beat up the course too much or too many volunteers? Or I've always thought that'd be a really cool thing to do, and just go back-to-back.
That's a great question, because I think that would be super cool. I'd have to go back to, your stress and volunteers would be tough because you now need double the amount. If you're a private course, you've now got to close for twice as long.
Sure.
I wouldn't imagine wanting to be the guy to go to the agronomy team and saying, hey, by the way, guys, we're not going to do this once. We're going to do this twice in back-to-back weeks. So I do think there's some logistical issues with doing it. As cool as I think it would be, haven't a couple places done it though? Didn't someone do it just recently? Last year was a COVID thing.
I think Pinehurst did it a couple of years ago.
Pinehurst did it in 2014 with, I believe Michelle Wee won that year on the women's side, and I want to say it was Martin Keimer on the men's side. In 2014 is when they went back-to-back weeks, or if it wasn't back-to-back weeks, it was very close.
But so maybe Pinehurst then's got the luxury of being a resort, and I'm not speaking out of turn here. Maybe because it's Pinehurst, their resort, they have how many different courses? Do they get to share a larger pool of volunteers, agronomy teams, golf shop, etc.? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's just probably too much stress. Keeps being the answer and over again. And I will say in the 2014 U.S. Open, T63, Clayton Rask out of Elk River, Minnesota. So that's exciting for the Northwest Suburban Golf fans. And that actually had the winner that year was Martin Keimer. And neither one of you guys would ever be able to guess who tied Ricky Fowler for second place that year.
What year again?
2014.
No clue.
A man that has been through amazing medical miracles to be able to play golf.
Oh, Compton? Eric Compton?
Eric Compton, T2 with Ricky. And the sneaky one, this was the first time we heard, what's his name? Chris Berman on ESPN talk about Bruce Kopka, the young new American. Bruce Kopka, he took fourth place that year at the event. So kind of fun to look back at some of these leaderboards from 7-8 years ago and see how much they've changed, and see how guys have kind of come in, come out, go all over the place. So
my guess is Furyk is on every single one.
It's funny you say that, Brandy. He finished in Jim Furyk T12.
Yeah, there we go.
And Marcel Seam, I think that's a Mune favorite there. Does Seam, is he have the man bun, Mune?
He's got the man bun.
Yeah.
He's up there with Charlie Hoffman and Harry Higgs and Pat Perez and the mechanic.
Yeah.
He's got the good lettuce.
And for those listeners that don't realize, Mune totally judges his favorite players based on what kind of hair they have going. So it's a really scientific process, and he just looks for who's got the best flow. So it's pretty intense when it comes to Mune picking his favorite guys out there. I love it. Robert Rock, another Mune favorite. No hat.
Hatless Robert Rock. Well, how about Keith Mitchell, visor? We always get a kick out of the visor too.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to the women really quick. Just if I remember right, the winner's purse I think is $870 for Anna, and I think is just over $400 for second place and a second place tie. So I just love that the women got a chance to play at these courses. And going back to that again, I hope there's more opportunities to do things like that at some of the courses, even if it's not back to back. I know Augusta's doing their big event now, which is really cool and fun to watch. So it was great tournament, good show.
No, it's great. It's cool to see them making those strides. And again, it was just that shot on 18 to me was it was so hard because you just assume she's gonna hit it up there and either make par or bogey. And again, obviously, if she makes bogey, she loses the event as well. But just the amount of dollars on the line from second to as you move down the chain there. So again, a great time right now to remind our listeners that 10,000 Swings is brought to you by Corona Premier. So delicious, fresh, light beer brought to you by Corona. Very similar taste to Corona, but definitely don't need a lime with this one. So just 90 calories, 2.6 carbs, super light, just a wonderful, refreshing light beer. Actually, has been the beer of choice by Abe Answer. I think he had it on his shirt a few weeks back. So Corona Premier bringing out some new products to the market, and we love seeing things like that. So go try out a Corona Premier today if you are of age.
Well, Brad, when you and Mune come stop by Lot 37 here in a few weeks, Corona Premier has now become the new official Brandstead tailgate beer.
I like it. Skyuma.
Skyuma, roll the boat, go Gophers, because when you got to start at 7 a.m., you got to go light.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Mune, I'm going to now enter the part of the show where I'm going to make you really uncomfortable. I'm going to ask you, and you can plead the fifth if you want, but I'm going to ask you, the one and only Jeff Kaiser was on a few weeks ago, and he shared his pet peeves with us about the things that are his pet peeves on the golf course. And, because you do have the celebrity status that you do have, I totally understand if you prefer to not answer these questions. But what are your pet peeves on the golf course? And again, I know you're not normally a guy that has a lot of pet peeves, but there's got to be something. And again, I'm assuming any of the things that you say are things that I've done on the golf course, so I will not take it personally. I totally understand that I'm a spaz, and I get it, but what are the pet peeves that you have that you just can't move forward when someone's in your group and you're just like, oh man, I'm just driving me nuts.
I was going to say, Mune, feel free to call people out by name here too if you want.
Well, so you guys probably, I think you've seen, because we've talked about it, is Dude Perfect does all these stereotypes of all these different things. And Dude Perfect, if you haven't seen it, for the listeners, go on Dude Perfect and look at golf stereotypes. And there is just some absolutely classics. I think, if I remember right, there's the borrower, there's the shadow guy. The guy's always got the shadow over the putts. There's Mr. Excuses. So that is a pet peeve. I'm going to kind of say Mr. Excuses and Mr. Mood Swings are one of my pet peeves. So it's the guy that I've never done this before. The sun's in my eyes. The ground's too hard. The ground's too soft. Whatever it is, it's excuses. And then also they kind of become the rage monster where if they hit a good shot, they're happy and they're engaging in the conversation. If they have a couple bad shots, they're kicking their bag over. That's a pet peeve to me. The mood
Mune, you could have at least saved my my faults for a little bit later in this show. You didn't have to come out of the first quarter throwing Hail Marys, but that's okay. I get it. I understand why I don't get the invite to play anymore. Totally understand.
Well, I think, Brad, I don't think any longer. I think we can give another family member the ball retriever guy, though, right?
Yeah.
there is the cold tradition for the ball retriever guy that's going to fish for balls like Jesse Ventura out at TPC that one time, right?
My dad is more likely to get his ball retriever re-gripped than he is his irons. He's you can't make it up, man. It's oh man, I love him to pieces, but again, it's funny because I think we all sit there and we're all like, oh, I don't like it when people do this, and I don't like it when people do this, and all these different things. And then you sit back and you're like, well, wait, I do that. Like,
so funny. Well, like I was saying, the mood swing guy or the angry guy, bad behavior guy, whatever you want to call it, those are tough. Or the guy who hits a shot, they're 7 feet from the pin and they're throwing a club in the air, stomping their foot, and they can't believe that they didn't hit it closer. So that guy. Then the other one, I think, is kind of underrated. We'll call it the alligator arms guy, the guy who never puts his hand in the wallet, ever. So those arms get a little short. So it could be they don't do it at all, or they wait three or four rounds of the beer cart girl, and then by then it's hole number 17, and they just kind of skirt off into the sunset, never buying around. So the alligator arm guy is another one.
Yeah, the deep pocket short arms thing.
I love the guy that, let's say the first round is on the third hole and all 4 people get one. And then the second round's on the 8th hole and all 4 people get one. And the third round's on the 12th hole and all 4 people get one. And then it comes around to hole 17 and he just gets one for himself or doesn't even ask the other guys. He just like, oh, I just assumed you didn't want one. And, he's got a free drink from everyone else. And he's only going to buy one for himself instead of 4 drinks. Like, I don't know if you think I can't do math, but here's how this is going to work. Like, I always fight for the first round. And I think it's something I've actually learned from you, Mune. It's like, I'm going to get the first round. I want to get the first round out of the way. I'm all in. If anyone else wants to buy one, great. But it is an amazing social experiment watching how people handle those things. And it's even better, like when they didn't pay for golf or someone set it up or whatever it may be, and you're just sitting there and you're like, really, man? It just you just kind of giggle and you kind of take it all in and realize we're playing golf, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is funny.
I want to take this one step further then. What is the appropriate amount of times that beverage cart, let's say you're on hole 2 or 3, your whole group orders whatever, 4 vodka lemonades, double vodka. You take care of that person well on hole 3. What's the appropriate amount of stops that they need to come back in the next, call it 15 holes?
I would say 4 per round is kind of the standard, I think. I think if you see them twice on the front, twice on the back. So if you think of like holes 3, hole 7, hole 11, hole 15, something to that effect, and maybe you miss them around the turn, you go inside, or whatever it may be, right? You kind of figure out, like, are they working the whole course? It depends, too. Like, is it a scramble? If it's a scramble, you probably should see them 6 times because you're going to be out there for 6 hours, right?
And you got the drink tickets and everything else. Right?
Yeah, you got drink tickets. I mean, the reality is it's kind of that thought process of one drink per hour or so, roughly. So if you think about it, if it's a 4-hour round, you should see them 4 times, right? It's kind of where my head's at, or maybe every 45 minutes. But, if you're only seeing a person once or twice for 18 holes, they're going to lose their jobs at the bar.
So my thing is this. You should be able, like, in that position, right? Let's say you're the one hiring that position. You need to hire someone that knows how to read people. If on hole 2 or 3, they just ordered 4 double vodka lemonades, I'd probably want to hang around that group a little bit longer than some others because they're going to keep going. And they probably tipped you pretty well to start with. Yeah,
and there's also the legality part of it too. Keeping you under the limits. So it's a difficult mix. I agree with you though. I think it's a case by case situation. But it's a great conversation, and it's one I love having with the Bev Card people. The other hard part, too, is that you never know, like, how many people they have. If they're the only person servicing all 18 holes, it gets a little bit tricky. And the one for me, and, most courses don't have Corona Premier, so I'm not able to order Corona Premier. So in that case, I would normally go with a Coors Light. And I don't know how else to say this, but I'm at like a 50-50 on whether or not a place is sold out of Coors Light every time the beer cart comes around. And I guess my question is like, if that's everybody's number one selling beer, isn't that kind of like having a white golf ball or having a large glove in the golf shop? Like, maybe we should just have have a few more extra Coronas and maybe a couple less Summit EPAs that no one's gotten all day long when it's 94 degrees out. Like, I find it interesting.
Well, I'll go another road on that then. Let's say you do take care of them on hole 3. Is there somebody else taking care of them even more than you think you're doing? Somewhere else out there that, you know what, they're like, hey, this isn't even worth my time.
Yeah, no,
you can do a whole podcast just on the whole dynamics of the
Right.
beverage part. You know, there's some great cliches in there somewhere too.
And I'll be very honest with you guys. Like when my friends bought the bar at Rum River Hills, that was a huge thing. Is like beverage cart service and food service has to go up. Like that was their number one thing. So they were very particular on the staff they hired, and they worked them very hard, and they get paid extremely well. But it's one of those deals where it's like these are the expectations because we have people that are coming in and saying they're thirsty, they're hungry, they're whatever. And it's our job to take their money. And I like when you have that mentality of like, you know, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take money and provide a service. So it's interesting. It's a great conversation though, because, you know, and the other part too that's really interesting is so you've got the guy, and I'm related to this guy that like he never wants anything on the bev cart, right? Like he just wants to play his 18 holes and go home. And he doesn't want you to, you know, to back up during his backswing. He doesn't want you to be driving at any time he's hitting a shot. He just wants to, he's going to bring his water bottle on the course with him. He's going to play his quick round and he wants out. And so everyone's different. And it's a very interesting dynamic. And I would say, Mune, of most people I play with, you're probably heavier on the snack side. You know, you're probably a 1 to 2 snacks per round kind of guy, right? Like, you might not even get a beer, but you're always going to at least get a snack or two because that's something when you're out playing. And people forget it. Like, if you have an 11 o'clock tee time, so you're going to be done at, let's call it, between 3:30 and 4, right? And you ate something at, let's call it, 9 o'clock. If you're not going to eat something again until 4:35, that's a long stretch of time to go without food. And people forget it all the time. It's a huge thing. And then they start wondering why they're hitting everything with a wipey fade down the right side.
Well, you know, you're exactly right. And, you know, part of it, too, I think is that if you're out playing a course, you have staff out there, and you want to take care of the staff. And if they're hustling and they're bringing a lot of great positive energy and they're coming back and checking on you, I might not even be hungry. I might not even be thirsty, but I'm still buying something from them to support the course and support that person. So that sounds ridiculous, but, you know, sometimes after a couple of weeks of playing, I might look in my bag and there's 3 salted nut rolls in my bag that I forgot about. So, you know, I think that's a big part too, just support the course.
Brad, what do you think about this? As the season's going to wind down here in a couple of months. We still got a couple of good months of some really good weather. We should do a specialty show and get Bev Cart personnel people as guests on the show.
Love that idea.
And have them talk about their stories about what they've seen more than you and I could ever shake a stick at.
Yeah, we're just going to want to talk with Hubbard Broadcasting a little bit on the what they can talk about,
right?
Because if it's the crew I know, they're going to have to edit a lot of the things that have been said / done around them. These poor girls, they're wonderful human beings, but we've got a lot of non-classy guys that are out there. So it's a great conversation.
We'll need a producer on air at that time to do this.
No, we could have a lot of fun with that. It's a fascinating conversation, and again, just wait staff in general and what they go through every day. So without any further ado, don't forget to tape your wait staff and take care of them, because these people are literally taking good care of us everywhere we go, and we get to play golf because of them and enjoy beverages and food and all that good stuff. So cheers to the wait staff all over the place. So Mune, we've done a lot of support for local businesses, and I know with the NIL, obviously, you know, your income has grown significantly with all the sponsors you've picked up, wakeboarding, golfing, etc. But Brandy and I want to go through with you, you know, the local businesses we supported this week. So I had a different one this week. I kind of had a good friend in town from Las Vegas, and actually took her up to Marty's for dinner on Thursday, but on the way we stopped at 10K Brewing in Anoka. So 10K Brewing, great little brewery right in downtown Anoka. If you haven't had a chance to go yet, please check it out. Not only do they have great beers on tap, they actually have fresh Von Hansen meat and Von Hansen, the wonderful golf course snacks that we've talked about that are so delicious from up at the Pines, Preserve, Craigens, kind of all over the North Country. So they've got that nice little box or that little plastic bucket of flavored flavored pretzels. And I think I had tangy mustard was the flavor that we had. Fantastic, and they had some beef sticks too. So 10K Brewing in Anoka, awesome little spot. Brandy, any local places you supported this week?
Yeah, I'm going to throw one out there. I technically did not visit it this weekend. I visited it in the past, but my wonderful and lovely wife had an opportunity to have a little bit of a girls' weekend in Stillwater this weekend, and they went to Leo's Grill and Malt Shop in Stillwater. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's right on the river, but it's awesome. And the theme of kind of a lot of my local businesses this year has been Cullen's, and I'm going to blank on the name of the one in Excelsior I just had, but I love these little small town ice cream shops and malt shops, and Leo's Grill and Malt Shop in Stillwater is amazing. I mean, I could throw out every single local business in Stillwater. It's going to be awesome. So take advantage of the last couple months here in this wonderful weather and get out, support your businesses.
You're right, Brandy. Those small town mom and pop shops are the absolute best. You know, whatever item it is, we have Butts and Buns up in Hackensack. I've talked about that before on the show. You have Sun and Fun, an old soda fountain. I mean, you have all these great places, and those are the absolute best.
The best.
So, Mune, any local businesses? Obviously, you play a little bit up at Tiana. Any local businesses that you were able to support this week you want to talk about?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go on the same theme that Brandy just talked about. I'm going to talk about the old-fashioned cake donuts at the Woman Lake Lodge up near Hackensack. Oh, my goodness. I stumbled upon this earlier this summer. I just Googled best donut place in the north central area, and sure enough, Woman Lake Lodge came up. So I realized it's about 20 minutes from the family cabin over on 10 Mile Lake. So I'm like, let's go check it out. So now anytime I'm up there, I'm making a trip over to get anywhere from 6 to 12 to 24 to 36 donuts. So they're the old fashions. So I got the numbers from her. She posts these on her board and updates us always. And so as of 8/19 of this year, she has made 57,400 donuts. The record was 2020. She made 75,900 donuts. And the record for one day is 2,280 donuts. And so I've taken a piece of that. I got a piece of that 57,400 this year. I'm in. And so if you're ever up in northern Minnesota, up in the Walker-Hackensack area, go over and get an old-fashioned donut at the Woman Lake Lodge. It's an incredible location, super friendly owners over there too.
And for those that aren't watching this on YouTube, Jeff is wearing a t-shirt that says, "Welcome to Tiana, the new Bushwood." So Tiana Country Club, in Walker, Minnesota, is taking claim as the new Bushwood. So for those of you Caddyshack fans, get on up, go play it. Maybe stop out to Jimmy's Family Restaurant for a little breakfast and a little cinnamon swirl French toast, maybe a little side of sausage, and the good stuff up there.
Before the shortstop, I played in the shortstop up at Tiana on Sunday morning. I got power, and that was my fuel for the day. Cinnamon swirl French toast, side sausage, and a cup of mud.
Which led you to a second place finish in your flight. And shockingly enough, you lost to a sour and Walker, which never happens. So,
oh my goodness, the legendary family, and I don't think there's any way possible you can get through the Sour clan. There's no way possible. Those guys are just too good.
A lot of good players in one family, so that's good stuff. Well, we love supporting our local businesses, and we love all of our wonderful guests. So thank you so much, Jeff, for being back on the show with us. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Jarrett Yalen with Northwestern Mutual, PXG, the Meadows at Mystic Lake, and Corona Premier. You can connect with us, as always, via email at 10kswings@scorenorth.com. Please subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, SKOR North, and give us a 5-star rating. For episode 27, we will have Jarrett Yalen back on the show to break down the BMW Championship and preview the Tour Championship, folks. We've just got a couple weeks to go here at the end of the regular season, so a lot of good stuff coming up. But until next week, friends, I'm Brad Cole.
I'm David Branstad.
Cheers.